Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar this morning. I'm Allison Ford, Vice President here at the Headhunters. I can see we have an amazing turnout for this edition of our webinar series, and we believe today will help set you up for success in your job search and career. Our topic is how to optimize LinkedIn to build your personal brand. A couple housekeeping items before we begin. We will have a question and answer period at the end of the presentation. But if you have questions as we go, please type them into the chat panel and we'll address as many as possible after Howie is finished presenting with us today. You can choose to share your questions with everyone online or choose to ask them privately to the panelists. Just check your setting as you enter the chat there. Now we invite you to sit back and take it all in. Over the next 45 minutes, there's no need to take notes. We will have an email sent out tomorrow to all the attendees and those who had registered for the webinar. It will have a link to the recording and will include the audio with also video of the slides. Now, to introduce our special guest, Howie Outerbridge. He is Vice President of Client Solutions at Logan HR. Logan HR management consultants look after career transition, coaching, talent management, and compensation. And Howie is back with us by popular demand. We thank him for being a great ongoing resource to us and the people we work with for all things HR. Howie has 15 years experience in learning, career exploration, and development of people in a variety of settings, including private industry, community-based career centers, and post-secondary institutions. He works with organizations to consult on a range of topics, including career management, downsizing, and leadership solutions. Howie's an active member in the community and regularly gives time to those who are in transition or struggling to manage their careers. So today we have Howie here to walk us through how to take full advantage of the powerful tool of LinkedIn to leverage your network and build your personal brand. Is your LinkedIn profile helping or hindering your job search? In the next 40 minutes, Howie will cover practical hands-on advice to take your profile to the next level. So let's get started. Howie, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Allison. Thank you for having me back, too. It's been great to take part in some of the webinars and the great resources that the Headhunters provides to not only employers, but also to seekers as well, candidates. And so that's definitely the focus of today's session, is looking at individuals that are seeking and what they can do with their LinkedIn profiles in order to maximize their profile, maximize the impact of their brand in the market, if you want to look at it this way. Now, normally I would say I would encourage you all to pay 100% of your attention to me. Now, what I'm going to encourage you to do is actually have your LinkedIn profile open at the same time as this webinar. So I want you to multitask, and I want you to, as you're listening to some of the things that I'm sharing, I want you to be working on your profile and improving your profile. One thing I like about LinkedIn is, I mean, in my career as an educator, and Allison mentioned my background, but I've taught so many different things. I've taught sewing, I've taught cooking, I've taught chainsaw maintenance. I've even taught people how to slide down a 300-foot rope from a hovering helicopter. But there's no topic that is more passionate and that I think that I know better than LinkedIn. So I'm happy to be here sharing some thoughts and some expertise with you today. So our office, Logan HR, we're located in sunny Vancouver. It never rains in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, despite what people will tell you. We're part of a global network through the BPI partnership. We're also part of a Canadian national affiliation through VF Career Management. So why is that important to you? The big thing is that I want to give you a sense of how I've developed my expertise in career transition and in LinkedIn. So we take Logan HR, our firm. We do a lot of work with people that are faced with unexpected job loss. So for those of you that are on the call, on the webinar, that have been terminated with sort of suddenly, right? And so our firm, we work with organizations to help them through those downsizings, as Allison mentioned. So why is that important? It's important because suddenly now we're working with people that their LinkedIn profiles are maybe even non-existent, or they're of quite poor quality, and they're thrust back into the market and have to quickly improve their profile. So over the last, I've been using LinkedIn since 2007, and so over the last 11 years, I've worked with hundreds of people to coach them through this process that we're going to go through right now. And lots has changed, of course, but again, as an educator focusing on career transition, this is something that I'm hoping that you'll get a lot out of. So we're going to start with a poll. Really like to get a sense from you how you would rate your knowledge and comfort level with LinkedIn. So Kristen, behind the scenes, who is running the show here, has got a poll up. And so the question is, how would you rate your knowledge comfort level with LinkedIn? So 1 being little, you're a novice, 5 being you're a LinkedIn expert. So just give people a few minutes here to complete it. I would say that, one thing that is unique about LinkedIn is that the platform is always changing. And so if you consider yourself to be a LinkedIn expert at 5, what you'll find is that every month that goes by, there are slight changes to the platform, and it does force you to continually stay up to date with the tool. Okay, so here we have the results here. So we look like 17% novice, little experience, 24 being 2s, 29% at 3. So it looks like the majority, we're going to fall, sort of the average would be at 3 here. We have some 4s as well. So that's great. I would say this webinar is probably geared more towards a 3 or a 4. That being said, the 1s are certainly going to pick a lot up here. So the second part of this poll, again, is to find out 1 or 2 questions that you'd like answered today. And you can type those into the chat window. And I'm going to access the chat window here now. And we're going to look at some of the questions that are coming in here. So I see one, how best to address gaps in employment. Gaps in employment. And that's something that obviously people have, absolutely. Here's a question, more of a comment. How many people are frustrated with the inability to disable the streaming? So, what's happened is there's a lot of, with LinkedIn and the activity feed we're going to look at in a second here, there are ways to control the streaming of content into your activity feed. Last question here, and then we'll move on to some of the content, is how to best represent yourself, and how to what's the best headline to use when you're searching for a job. So we'll look at that. We'll look at that as well. So some really good questions. Thank you for those questions, and Allison will also be we'll be looking at some questions at the end of the session as well. Okay. So first, a little bit about LinkedIn, and it's easy to, when you use the tool all the time, to sort of overlook just how prevalent it is in the market today. And so over 500 million members and users, 200 countries. I like the stat that every second 2 new LinkedIn members are joining LinkedIn. So if you're not using LinkedIn, I would say that it's a tool that you really, 5 years ago, you might have been able to, as a candidate looking for work, conduct a proper search. In today's day and age, I would say it's very difficult to search for work and not have a LinkedIn profile. People just sort of expect that you will have a profile. Employers will expect that they can go and look at your profile, and not having one would be the equivalent of having your fax number on your resume, which is never a great impression. Just a couple of other stats about LinkedIn. They're an incredible source of data, of course. So they've recently published some statistics on the prevalence of use of LinkedIn in the US. A couple of more things. Over 146 million workers in the US have profiles. Over 3 million jobs are posted on LinkedIn every month. 3 million jobs posted on LinkedIn every month. So incredible. Which is probably why that LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft in 2016 for $26.2 billion. That's an incredible amount of data being purchased. So what can LinkedIn do? it's certainly, there are lots of benefits to using LinkedIn. You'll hear me talk about them today. This is the tool that you use to manage your career and everything that goes into your career. So not just work experience, but also your volunteer experience and the skills that you have, the recommendations that you have. So it's an online profile that depicts your career. It helps you, again, manage your professional identity, build and manage your professional network, and then of course, access knowledge, insights, and opportunities. So what I find with people is that often people have sort of a rudimentary LinkedIn profile that's built, but they're not using the tool. So today we're going to look at not only building your profile and building a very strong profile, an all-star profile in LinkedIn language, but we're also going to look at how you can tell LinkedIn what you want it to tell you. And the equivalent would be, again, what newspapers you want delivered to your door. So it's an incredible, convenient way to tap into, again, to content and what's happening. I'll share just one thing with you as a group. So I've been through two unexpected career transitions in my career, one in 2011 and one in 2016. And what I found in 2011 when I left the first employer that decided it was not a great fit through restructuring, people were reaching out through email. So my former colleagues were reaching out, wanted to stay in touch, and it was all done through email. In 2016, I went through a second career bump, and what was remarkable was that almost nobody reached out through email. Everyone was reaching out through LinkedIn and through the message feature. So to me, that signifies a real shift in the way that people use LinkedIn as a way to stay in touch with people and communicate with people. Okay, so into the agenda. This is building and optimizing your profile in 6 easy steps. We're going to start by looking at the homepage. We're going to focus on an all-star profile, and I'll be very specific on how to build this, how to take your profile and create an all-star profile. We need to talk about settings and how to manage those settings. We'll look at sharing, and then I'll share just my personal and professional opinion on liking versus commenting versus sharing. And then we'll wrap up before we take questions with joining and creating groups. Okay, so you're probably wondering, when are we going to actually look at LinkedIn? And this is really the last slide that we'll go through. And then I'll be jumping back and forth between the actual presentation and LinkedIn. So let's start about the activity feed. So the activity feed, and we'll look at it in a second, is when you log into LinkedIn and your profile comes up, this is what you see in front of you. And the concept with LinkedIn is that as you connect with people and as they accept your invitation to connect, they become a part of your network. Likewise, as you follow companies, as you join groups, as you follow thought leaders, this is how you build your network on LinkedIn. And what you'll see in your activity feed is a representation of your people that you're connected with, sharing their thoughts, their ideas, etc. So this concept of first degrees is important because if I'm connected to Allison and she's connected to somebody else, I'm suddenly connected to Allison's network. So this is how, this is the power of LinkedIn as a networking tool, is that your network becomes suddenly much broader and much more expansive. So I'll just maybe highlight this point here. So you want to follow organizations and people to feed you the right things. So when you think activity feed, think, what have you signed up to receive? So let's look at LinkedIn, and I will show you just a couple of things on LinkedIn. This is my profile, and you can see, I will just refresh here. You'll be able to see things that are happening in my network. So watch my mouse here. So I'm looking at Nick Jones. He's a friend and colleague who's posting something on product. He's always posting things on product innovation, product management. So as I scroll down, you'll see that my activity feed goes It goes on and on and on. Actually, at some point, it becomes a little overwhelming for people. So you could spend hours just tracking through your feed. But let me highlight a few features of your activity feed. One is looking at these three little dots here. So this is the 3-dot demo. So as I click on this, LinkedIn is giving me options. And if I find, for example, that Nick is posting things all the time and he's inundating me with content that I'm not really excited about, then I can choose to unfollow Nick. I can always go back and follow Nick later. Everything about this I can undo. If I just want to hide this post because I don't want to see it, then I can just click hide. And if I want to undo it, I can undo it. Another useful feature here is down at the very bottom here. And for those of you that haven't set up your activity feed, maybe you have a strong profile, but you're just getting into using LinkedIn as a tool. This is where when we click on this, LinkedIn will give me a series of options. Again, thought leaders, companies, topics that I can follow that will appear in my activity feed. And this is created by, so LinkedIn has an algorithm that is looking at my profile and suggesting things like mental health. You know, and as a counselor, that might be a great topic. So, hey, I'm going to follow that, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this list goes on and on and on as well, as you can see. So this would be, you're trusting LinkedIn to suggest things to you that you can follow. Now, there are also other ways to be a bit more strategic about how you follow organizations. So I'll just do a quick little demo here. We're going to go to the Headhunters recruitment, of course, why wouldn't we? And so this is the Headhunters recruitment page, LinkedIn page. And you can see here that I'm already following them. So we'll just do a live demo for those of you that are on LinkedIn. Feel free to do this. So I've just clicked unfollow. So again, I can follow, I can unfollow. If you decide you want to unfollow later, that's fine. So again, the concept of the activity feed is now anything that's posted by the Headhunters will appear in my activity feed. Okay, there we go. I think that is pretty straightforward. So back to our presentation here. This is kind of the meat of it, I think. So we're going to spend some time looking at your profile and really go digging into what makes a strong profile. So a basic profile has 7 completed sections. So you have a profile photo, you've filled in industry and location, you have an up-to-date current position with a description, 2 past positions and education, skills, and at least 50 connections. So if you have these 7 completed sections, you'll have a basic profile, sort of as defined by LinkedIn. Now, there's lots of sort of the concept with LinkedIn is you want a strong profile, right? And the reason you want a strong profile is that when people are searching LinkedIn, the database of 500+ million people, people that have stronger profiles, they have more content, are more likely to come up. In fact, this article by the News suggests that they're 40 times more likely to get discovered or to come up in searches if you have an all-star profile. So let's look at, we're going to look at a few things here. I'll give you sort of an example of, first of all, where to find if you are an all-star. So go to your home page. This is your home profile page. And then if you click on your smiling face, it takes you to your edit mode, your edit profile mode. And you'll see in my screen here, LinkedIn tells me that I am an all-star. And I should be, because I'm leading this webinar. That wouldn't really make a lot of sense if I wasn't. So this is how you can tell if you're an all-star. So now I want to just do a quick demonstration on why having content and why completing your sections is important. And I'm going to bring up a colleague of mine who has allowed me to use her profile for these kinds of webinars. I'm going to look at Eileen Grant. And when I look at Eileen Grant and I look at her summary, some of you are thinking, wow, it's a long summary. In fact, LinkedIn gives you 2,000 characters to work with when you're building your summary. And content is king on LinkedIn. So if you don't have searchable text in your profile, people won't be able to find you for specific skills. So let's look at Eileen's skills, and I want to highlight one in particular. So if I'm an engineering company and I want to hire someone who has expertise in industrial, road, maintenance, and deactivation, and I hire a recruiting firm to find that expertise or that talent, I guarantee you that recruiters will use LinkedIn as either a starting point or as the end all be all. So by typing this content in, this is how Eileen is going to be found and discovered. So one thing that I really want you to walk away from this webinar with is a sense of what are the key terms that need to be on your profile in order to be found? What are the key terms that need to be on your profile in order to be found? All right. So we're going to get into our second poll here. And Kristen is working her magic as we speak. But the poll is, how many of you have a basic profile? Meaning you have these 7 basic things. And I'll read them again. You have a profile photo, industry location is completed, current positions, et cetera, et cetera. So as we were waiting for this, the poll, the results to come in, I'll just tell you why I think it's important. Why is it important to have a built-up profile? All right. So it looks like 75% of you have at least a basic profile. So that's great. Okay, so that means that it's really now taking your profile to All-Star, as well as figuring out how to use the tool. And so the 3 main reasons that having a profile is a completed profile and an All-Star profile is important. The first is that it allows people to find out more about you and approach you with opportunities. So it might not be logging a road, deactivation, and maintenance. It might be some of the computer skills that you have. The second is image. This is having a profile, a well thought out picture and background photo is the equivalent of showing up at an interview. And so do you walk into an interview wearing, cutoffs and an old Atari t-shirt, flip-flops? Absolutely not. You want to put your best foot forward. So this is a professional representation of you as a person. And third is having a profile, and a completed profile allows you to take control of your message. So if you are, let's say you're an admin assistant trying to break out or try to apply for jobs in the next level, don't let your job title, admin assistant, dictate what you do. So spend some time, craft the language, write some well thought out points, and put those on your LinkedIn profile to leave people with an impression of what you can do. Take control of your message. All right. So we're going to look at now taking your profile to the next level, and we're going to spend probably at least 10 minutes on this. We're going to do, all this is going to be done through LinkedIn and live demos, but you need to select the right photo, not just your profile photo, but there's also a background photo as well to select. Adjusting your headline. This was one of the questions that came in. So we'll look at where your headline is and how to adjust that. All-Star profiles also have customized URLs. And you're wondering, what does that look like? I'll show you what that looks like. Adding a summary, and the summary was, when we looked at Eileen, you saw that she had a very well-developed summary. We want to look at maximizing content for each experience and education entry. We want to look at reordering and selecting your skills too. So we'll do a little bit of a demo with that. Recommendations, of course, are going to be important. And why would they be important? Because as people are looking at your profile, typically, and we hear this from recruiters in particular, they want to know that somebody has gone on a public space and said positive things about the individual. So there's quite a bit of value in that. And then we'll look at expanding your network and how to build it out. So let's jump into LinkedIn. And so I mentioned how you can tell whether you're an all-star. And again, your all-star status, let's start at the beginning, go to your home page, click on your smiling face, and here you're in profile edit mode, and you can tell whether you're an all-star or not. So the first point was write photos. So I'm going to look at a Rob Phillip, who's given me permission to use his profile in this session. So not only does Rob have a nice smiling face, he's a CEO, so he's wearing a suit and tie, really nice man, and that's reflected in his photo. It's an accurate representation of him. Please do not have a photo of yourself with your arms sort of hanging out into space that you've just cut and pasted from the last family gathering that you were at. That's not acceptable. The second part about Rob's profile is this wonderful bridge. This is, for those of you that have been to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, this is our Lionsgate Bridge. I drive it every day. And so what's the importance here? So if you look, you'll see that Rob he's a community builder. He's a bridge builder, and he's joining communities. So this picture, it took him a while to select. It's a very symbolic photo for him. And it signifies the work that he does in communities and with organizations to build connections. So I challenge you to find the right photo for you. Okay, we talked about headlines. So I'll show you, for those of you that are wondering what the headline is, well, I'll select Rob's here. This is Rob's headline. And from what I understand, you've got 120 characters to work with here, not a lot of space. LinkedIn will auto-populate that as a default, but you can change that, you can edit that. And so the best profiles are ones that individuals have edited this. So how do you do that? We'll go back to your profile edit page. And everything in LinkedIn, when it comes to editing, it relates to this little stylus, this little pen or pencil, so to speak. So when I click on this, it gives me the options to add a background photo. This is a view from our office in Vancouver. It also gives me the opportunity to adjust my headline. And this is where you can tell the world what you do and what you're known for. One other little trick too is I've told LinkedIn that my last name is Outerbridge ed comma CCC. So these are my credentials. So you need to tell LinkedIn that it's a part of your last name in order for those things to come up. Okay, I'm going to save that. So that was a quick demonstration of adjusting your headline. And I would say write your headline in Word and then cut and paste so that you can have little lines, or LinkedIn won't allow you to do that right now. I'm sure that's a modification that's coming. Okay, I talked about the idea of customizing your pre-assigned URL. And you'll see on my page here, this is my profile edit page, upper right-hand corner, edit profile, public profile, and URL. So when you click on this, this tells me that my profile URL is blah, 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 / Howie Outerbridge, which is exactly what I want it to be. If yours looks like a long list of randomly generated numbers with a couple of characters thrown in there, then you need to change that. Again, this is one of the ideas of, one of the components of that all-star rating, and it also just looks good when you have it on your resume. It's not again, it's not randomly assigned. Okay, back to my list here. So adding a summary. So we looked at Eileen Grant, and Eileen, I think when we did the math on this, it was 1,997 characters that she's used in her profile summary. So she's used the max. Now, you can use the max if you like. Some people will say, you know what, there's just too much content there. No one's going to read it. Fair enough. It is a searchable page, though. It's searchable content. The other way to go would be my good friend Mike Rynch, who I've known since I was 5 years old. And Mike takes a simpler approach. His approach here is a summary: building a better world. So what I would like you to do is find a happy medium in there somewhere. And maybe it looks like Liz Grant, my colleague Liz Grant here, who, if we, I'll just highlight a couple things along the way. Here is her headline. Here is her summary. So there's really no wrong way to do this, except if you have a bunch of spelling errors. So there you go. Find something where you're accurately representing yourself as a professional, and you're using that specific language that will help you be found. All right. All-Star profiles also have content for experience entries, and so what I find in my travels is a lot of professionals will not take the time to put in any content under what they're currently doing right now. The general trend right now is to spend a little bit of time talking about the organization, and then spend a little bit of time talking about what you do with the organization. Think broad, think wide-reaching. Avoid the sort of the temptation to get very, very specific. The other thing is take the time to upload media so that people can understand, what your company is known for or what they're doing. We're going to talk about skills now, and I want to do a live demo here, and I want your help actually in doing this. So I've scrolled down to my skills and my endorsements section, and I'm going to click on this nice little stylus here, and up comes the interface to reorder and adjust my skills. This is actually new. This has changed in the last, I'm going to say 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Your top 3 skills will be clearly visible on your profile. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this quickly. I'm going to unpin leadership, and I have added webinar delivery and development. And I'm going to pin that to my profile. So this is the way that you're able to tell the world your top 3 skills, Now, you can also reorder your skills down here as well. This doesn't have as much impact as your top 3 skills and really putting those forward, but you still have the ability to do that. So here's the ask to my webinar participants. I've saved this now on my profile. I'd like you to go in and endorse me for webinar development delivery, and we'll come back and we'll see how that number has grown. But again, it gives you a good sense of, first of all, how to have those skills up. And this is a new skill for me, webinar development and delivery. And you do want to have people endorse you for those. Okay, adding recommendations. Again, this is an important part of your profile as well. And we're going to use Liz Grant, my colleague here. We'll scroll down to her recommendations. And so she's received 5 recommendations from people that she's worked with. So if you have 0 recommendations right now, don't feel like you have to run out there and grab 30, but I would say try to have 3 or 4 recommendations to help the world understand that, that you are reputable, or that you're trustworthy, or that you provided somebody with a lot of support and excellent advice. This is coming from a vice president, commercial services at C-SPAN. So this carries a lot of weight. Okay. For the sake of time, we are going to actually, Kristen, let's just do this then. We are going to do this poll here. So I want to ask, we're asking the group, how many of you have made the changes we just discussed and are now an all-star? Or how many of you are on the way to becoming an all-star, I guess? So let's just get a sense of where people are at here. Okay, so as you're selecting your responses there, yes or no. Okay, awesome. 71% of you are all-stars. Great. Okay, good. So let's keep moving through the content here. I love it. 29% of you need to close that gap between being not having an all-star status and being an all-star. But if you are in active search mode, all-star status is a must. Okay. What else is a must? Is taking some time and adjusting your settings. And there are 4 settings that we're going to look at specifically as we move through this content. Editing your public profile, that's a huge one. Profile viewing options, communication settings, and then adjusting job seeking preferences so that you're open to recruiters and so people are able to connect with you when they want to connect with you. So again, let's look at how this comes into play. So you go to your profile and we look at under your smiley face up in the upper top part of your screen, drop down menu, and you see some more options here. So we go to settings and privacy. The first one was editing your public profile. And so how do you do that? Actually, we're going to do this in a different way here. So we'll go back to our profile edit mode, and then upper right-hand corner, edit public profile and URL. So when we click on this, it gives us the options as we scroll down to determine what we share with the public. So the public is defined by LinkedIn as someone who hasn't logged in to LinkedIn, doesn't have their profile open or active on their page. So again, I would encourage you as seekers to really have as much content readily available and visible to people as possible. And you control that by simply just adjusting these radio buttons here. Okay? So first step, again, was editing your public profile and making sure that you've got as much content showing as possible. The second setting that we're going to look at is under privacy and under how others see your, let's see, how others see your LinkedIn activity. Profile visibility, where are we? Oh yes, here we are. Profile viewing options. Okay. So as we click on this, this is when you click on a person's profile, this tells you what they're going to see. Are they going to see everything about you, your name and headline, or are they going to see nothing about you? And when you're in search mode, there are advantages and disadvantages to both of these. Maybe if you're doing a bunch of digging around, you want to be in anonymous mode so no one sees that you're looking at the profile. But then as you're preparing for your interview, I would encourage you to go back into full disclosure mode and continue to do your research on the people that are going to be interviewing you. So what does that tell them? It tells the interviewers that you've spent the time to learn more about them. And this is something that I've seen change. 3 or 4 years ago, people were kind of creeped out by that. But what I've seen in my experience, my professional opinion, is that it just shows that you're keen and that you're doing your research on people and preparing for the interview. We're also going to look at the last 2 settings under communication settings. So here, and then we're looking at who can send you, let's see, where are we here? Who can send you invitations? So again, you want to be open to new opportunities on LinkedIn. So have everyone on LinkedIn be able to send you an invitation to connect, right? If you get overwhelmed, then change that. But I would say if you're in full search mode, then certainly do that. And I would also encourage you here under messages from members and partners, was right beneath who can send you invitations, to be open to things like to receiving email. All right. The last setting is probably the most important one for you as a job seeker. It's under privacy. And at the very bottom, we get to job seeking preferences here. So this is huge. Let recruiters know you're open to new opportunities. And when you click on this, it's a yes, no. Nothing appears on your LinkedIn profile. So if you are employed right now, LinkedIn says we're taking steps to make sure that your company doesn't know you're looking. I would encourage you to click yes, and then to spend a bit of time and update your career interests. So this is a separate page that pops up, and it's a whole interface here that we're not going to go through, but take some time, make sure that this is working for you. Okay, we're moving through the content here. The next thing we're going to focus on and we've got 5 more minutes, so we'll just do this. Maybe one of the last activities here is, now that you have built your profile and a high percentage of you are all-stars, you need to start using your profile. And so one way to use it is to start posting content, posting ideas, and becoming just a bit more connected to LinkedIn as a tool. So I've pre-written this, and I'm going to show you how to create a post. And hopefully I've done this where yes, okay, great. I'm just going to go back and forth here. So if you want to post something on LinkedIn, it is as simple as finding a URL and cutting and pasting that into LinkedIn. So let's see, let's just hope that this, yes, thank you, it's still here. Hang on a second, we'll cut this. So I'm essentially putting this post, I'm writing a little post here. I take the URL, I cut and paste it into this posting box, and then I have the opportunity to alert people that might be interested. And so in this case, I'm going to put, I do the little @ sign, and you see a list of people comes up that start with people that I know that have the first name Peter. So we'll say Peter Sonia, I select him, comma, and let's do Kristen, just because you could be interested in this too. Maybe one more, and let's see here, at Vincent Chow might be interested in this, So as I hit post, this goes live to my feed. Peter, Kristen, and Vincent all receive a little note saying, hey, Howie just mentioned you in a post. And then their attention is drawn to this very interesting article on how LinkedIn is being used in the US. Okay, excellent. Luckily, this is recorded, and you'll all be able to go and listen to this again, because we're moving through this at light speed. The last thing is that we'll look at is we will look at the idea of liking, commenting, and sharing. And the concept here is that you have this activity feed set up, and with that, you have the ability to interact with articles that are posted. And so the easiest one is the like. You basically just click the little thumbs up like, and a lot of people equate that to laziness. So tell us what you liked about the post. Was it the informative data? Was it the cutting edge take on immigration? What was it? Commenting is better than liking. It's not as good as sharing. I would encourage you to tag people for more impact when you're commenting on posts. And then sharing, which is what I just did, is the ultimate. It's what LinkedIn is built for. It's paying it forward. It's seeing something that you like, and it's sharing it with your network. And that's how you build your brand with your network, is that people start to see you as either someone that's forwarding along postings or sharing LinkedIn data, etc. So we're going to end with this poll. So Kristen, if we can do this poll. So how likely do you think it is for your LinkedIn profile to be reviewed by a recruiter or potential employer? Very unlikely, somewhat likely, or very likely. While we're doing this, I'll just say a little bit about groups, because we're going to skip through the group, but there are over 1 million groups out there, and lots of groups. It's an easy way to start to build your network. It's an easy way to tap into data, to articles, to people that are interested in certain things. Okay, great. 69% of you, very likely, indeed, most employers will look at your LinkedIn profile. They will. It's a fact in today's HR world, with social media being so prevalent and accessible. So know that when you are building your profile, that it will be reviewed. And so one of the reasons why we polled you for this is that LinkedIn HR directors and managers will also look at your activity. So what are you liking, and what are you commenting on? What are you sharing? If you're a fuel cell expert and you are commenting and liking things about fuel cells, and you're sharing this great content that people will be able to see, then that's a positive message, as opposed to a fuel cell expert posting things about puppies or kittens or rainbows or whatever it might be. So align your posts and your activity with your brand. Again, in the minute that I have left, groups, again, are a great resource. There are lots of fantastic groups out there, over 1 million, and I pulled a few that you might be interested. For those of you that are in project management, it's a fantastic community group, and it's fantastic because some of my closest project manager colleagues are a part of the group. And as you are looking at joining groups, it will tell you who in your network is a part of that group. And that's a great way to figure out whether it's a group that is of value or not. But again, over 1 million out there, join some groups, etc. Okay, so wrapping up with my last slide here, LinkedIn is how you control your brand in the market. For those of you that are offended by the word brand, it is what it is. It is your public profile. It's content that people can see. So I would strongly encourage you to get over that the objection to the word brand, and to take advantage of what you can share. So you do this, again, as we looked at today, by creating that all-star profile, adjusting your feed, working on your activity, your account settings, and then continuing to be active on LinkedIn by joining groups and posting, etc. All right, I am going to turn the reins over to Allison.
Well, thanks, Howie. You covered a ton of great information, and I was watching some of the questions come through the chat window while you were going, and you answered the vast majority of the questions that popped up. So thank you so much. I particularly appreciate how easy it is to action some of the suggestions you've got. So Kristen as well was popping in a few links to added resources if people want to spend some time later today or afterwards to upgrade their LinkedIn profile. So thanks so much. So to take a couple questions here, one is, does the headline open to opportunities work well when job hunting, or is it a kiss of death that you're unemployed and not as desirable? So if you could talk a little bit about headlines, or even what the current position should be listed as when someone is job hunting.
Right. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, so let's look at the current. Let's look at the headline then. And for those of you, we'll just refresh our memories here. The headline is this part of your profile where you get to tell the world, in your own words, exactly what you want to be known for. So one approach, if you are actively on the market, is to put actively seeking new opportunities. I would say 5 years ago, it was sort of frowned upon, and that, wow, you're sort of coming up from a point of fragility and you're unemployed. But I mean, we all know that unemployment and transition is just a part of the new way that we live and we do business. So I think that's one approach to do that. I think another point too, and Allison, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, but HR managers and hiring managers really don't blink now at people not being gainfully employed, right?
Yeah.
Transition happens all over the place. What are your thoughts on that, Allison?
Yeah, I like to see open to opportunities often, and for us as recruitment consultants, it does encourage us to make contact and consider someone for a position, especially if we're perhaps working with a client that is wanting someone to get started quickly and we know someone is readily available. And I agree with you that it doesn't have the stigma attached to it that it perhaps did. So yeah, it gets the thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I just brought up a profile for people to look at. This is a friend of mine, Marley, who again, she's okay with me using her profile. And she's very proud of the fact that she's a mom, and that so what she's done is using HR language, she's crafted this very it's very witty, and it speaks to her as a career mom, as an HR practitioner. So this kind of links in what you mentioned just about what do you say if you're between work, but also one of the original questions, which was it had to do with gaps in employment. So people are putting on sabbatical, they're putting, traveling the world, they're doing volunteer work in foreign countries.
So another question that came in a couple times was about the photo. If someone really prefers not to have a photo, does that limit them? They're hoping an employer would judge on their skills and experience only, but what are your thoughts about not having a photo?
I really would caution people against not having a photo. Not having a photo, again, is like not having your, it's, again, I want to use the fax number metaphor. It just, people will sort of say, like, so what is this person hiding? What are they hiding? So, have a professional photo done, have a headshot done. This is becoming, more and more photographers will do this at a reduced rate. They'll have a LinkedIn rate, which might only be $50 or $60, but not having photo is a sign that you're trying to hide something. And often people that are older will do this as a way to hide their age, and what they're thinking is a way of they're protecting themselves from discrimination based on their age, but in actual fact, they're drawing attention to that. So I would strongly discourage people against not having a photo.
Great, thanks for that. And I agree. I think a photo does really put someone's best foot forward for job hunting, for sure. We had a couple questions come in about resumes and hearing both good and bad about posting a resume. And I would like to also mention, again, from a hiring manager or recruitment consultant perspective, it's really important to have your LinkedIn profile line up with your resume. So when you are job hunting, the dates are in sync, the titles line up, etc. So it doesn't raise potential questions with an employer about why perhaps your job history looks different on LinkedIn than it does with your resume. So Howie, any comments you have about either having a resume posted and downloadable on the LinkedIn profile, or on, again, syncing up the two pieces?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my professional opinion on this is that LinkedIn and your resume they're two very different tools. And to have a resume, sort of a generic resume attached to your LinkedIn profile, I would encourage you not to do that, but to spend that time and the effort to really beef up your LinkedIn your LinkedIn profile. So I think by having your resume up on your profile, you're really not sure who's going to look at it. It would be very difficult to have sort of a generic, people write them all the time. I've written hundreds of them, but I don't think it's as important or impactful as having the content on your LinkedIn profile. The other thing that I've seen people do is, I'm going to do a live demo here, is under More on Marley's profile is Save to PDF. And so this is sort of a challenge that I would put out to everybody is, if you think your profile looks great and is done, then take the Logan PDF test. So download your profile as a PDF and have a look at it and just to see how it reads. So more and more employers are sort of doing this as they're walking into interviews. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
That is a good test. We find the vast majority of employers still want a formal resume, but they will use a LinkedIn profile as a first introduction. So good idea, so that we all know what it looks like when someone is downloading from our profile. So the last question to wrap up here is, how do you approach clients or coworkers for recommendations?
Wow, yes. So interesting. I think that what you'll probably find is approach people that are maybe a little bit more social media fluent, or that are not, maybe they have active LinkedIn profiles, or they're actively posting on LinkedIn. And so you'll find that people are not as maybe unsure or skeptical about it. If you're not used to and you're not comfortable with LinkedIn, then to approach somebody and ask them to put or write you a recommendation might be overwhelming. So I would say start with people that first of all know the platform, and that are comfortable with that.
Great. Well, thanks again, Howie, for your expertise, and you're always so approachable here. I appreciate you putting your email address there for anyone who may have some follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to Howie or to us at the Headhunters at connect@theheadhunters.ca. So some final bits here before we wrap up is that we really would like your feedback. There's a link in the chat that you can click on to complete a short survey. And this helps us to ensure we provide you with webinars that are valuable for your job hunt in the future. As we said in the beginning, our email will come out tomorrow with a link to the survey as well as the recording of the webinar. So if you haven't seen it within 24 hours, you can check some of your junk folders or spam folders, but if you really don't see it there, please contact us and we'd be happy to provide it. And a reminder to sign up for our webinar each month. We enjoy connecting with you and we'll support you in your search the best we can. Thank you again from all of us here at the Headhunters and enjoy your day.